Okay, so I'm gonna start 8 o'clock. Okay, so good morning, everybody. So last time I explained CCMA with collision avoidance, but I want to go through it again because I did it at the last part of the lecture. So first of all, you should know this one is collision avoidance. Number one, you should know what is the motivation for that. We had collision detection before and it was okay. The motivation for collision avoidance, as I said last time, because simply it is difficult in case of wireless communication to do collision detection. Okay, because simply, as I told you, the idea of collision detection is you are going to compare the power of on the channel with the transmitted power, and you see if they are close to each other or not. Okay, but in case of wireless networks, because the received signal is always very weak signal, so it's going to be difficult to differentiate between if there is incoming signal or not. That's why when you compare the power in the channel, you will find this almost all the time it's similar to your power. Okay, that's why we need something different than collision detection to use it here in case of wireless networks. That's why we had collision avoidance. So, and I told you this one is used in IEEE 82.11. Okay, we use this protocol every day. So this protocol is used in Wi-Fi. Okay, so we use it all the time. So here, this is similar to CCMA. There is no difference. Number one, you have to send a channel. If no one is transmitting, you are going to transmit data, and then you send acknowledgement. So this is similar to CCMA. Okay. Now we are going to add collision avoidance. So the idea of collision avoidance is it's more like reservation. Okay, you want to reserve the channel. So the idea here, before you transmit data, you have to transmit a short message. We call it RTS. RTS stands for request to send. Okay, and then the destination is going to send CTS. CTS is actually clear to send. It's okay now to send. Clear to send. Okay. After that, you transmit data. You transmit acknowledgement. Okay, so why we need to send these two messages? Actually, so as you see here, for example, A wanna communicate with B. So A is gonna transmit RTS. Who's gonna listen to RTS? The neighbor of A. These are all the neighbors of A. So the neighbors of A can know that A is willing or A is planning to transmit, so that they are not gonna transmit to avoid collision. Okay. So simply, I'm going to tell you guys, please don't transmit. I'm going to use the channel. Okay. So but again, this is not enough. This is not enough. Why is not enough? Because in order to guarantee there is no collision between A and B, I have to make sure, number one, the neighbors of A are not going to transmit. Also, the neighbors of B also are not going to transmit. Because collision, if it's not enough that the neighbors of A are not going to transmit. Why? Because if there is only one transmission here, we have something we call it hidden terminal. So this hidden terminal is actually the neighbors of B, but they are not the neighbors of A. So they are not going to listen to the communication of A. They are outside the transmission area of A. Okay, so I can guarantee no one of A is going to transmit, but someone of the neighbors of B, like G, for example, is going to transmit to B and make collision here at B. Okay, that's why after receiving this signal, RTS, B has to send CTS to A, so to tell its neighbor, guys, I'm gonna receive communication from A. No one should transmit during this time. Okay. So as you see here in this figure, A is going to transmit RTS, as you see here. And then the neighbor of A, which is C here, is going to wait, is going to hold, is going to wait for some time, okay? Waiting until the channel is idle. Then after that, B is going to transmit CTS, okay? The neighbor of P, which is D in this case, okay, D is going to also wait for some time. And now the channel is ready. No one is going to transmit. I guarantee now 100% there is no collision. If it works this way, 100% there is no, it's guaranteed no collision, okay? Then I'm gonna transmit the data, you receive acknowledgement, and then after that someone else can take, or you need to send another RTS or CTS and so on, okay? Any questions?
Not send another RTS to the other neighbors. They will just wait.
Which one? C and D? No, wait a second. This is a very good question. Look what I'm going to say. In order to guarantee there is no collision, it's enough to make sure the neighbors, there is no transmission from the neighbor of A or transmission from the neighbor of D. Look what I'm saying? D and C. I'm sorry, B. Okay, I have to guarantee no one of the neighbor of, because I have to guarantee there is no collision here. I have to guarantee also there is no collision here, okay? The neighbors of A are not going to transmit. Also the neighbors of B also are not going to transmit. But what if there is a communication here? I don't care. It's far from me, okay? Collision happens when the transmission comes to, the antenna is here. I know maybe this part is a little bit confusing to students, but listen to me. A, the antenna is here. B is the antenna is here. Collision happens if there is another communication that's going to come here. And the only way that communication is going to come to A is going to come from the neighbor of A. But if someone is very far and there is another transmission, I don't care about it because it's not gonna make collision here. It's not going to come to me. Okay? Any questions? Okay. If everything is good and you are keep saying 100%, I guarantee there is no collision. So that means this one is collision free. The answer is no. And as I'm going to explain later, always in random access, always we have collision. But what we are doing, I try to reduce the collision too much. Okay, and we're successful for that. For example, if you look at that's what I explained in this curve last time. Here, this one indicator for collision as increases, as the utilization increases, that means collisions are less. You reduce collision. If it is one here means 100% transmissions or zero collision when it is one. Okay, so we succeeded. We were very close to one here. Okay, but anyway, but why? And this may be a question I'm going to ask in quizzes or whatever. So why still, after doing all of that, still there is a chance for making collision? There is a likelihood for collision. Okay, so answer simply is if it works this way. If it works this way, there is no collision. Okay, but it may not work this way. It may happen when you transmit RTS. There is another communication that's is gonna distort this signal, and the neighbors are not gonna be notified of the communication. So when you transmit here, for example, when you transmit this signal, maybe there is another signal sent from any other node, like for example D or whatever. You make this, so here the nodes are not going to receive RTS. Okay, but the good news is same thing for CTS for sure. Okay, if there is any transmission during RTS or CTS, in this case, the nodes or the computers are not gonna be notified for the for the reason. I don't want to use the word reservation, but it is like reservation, honestly. But anyway, however, the good news is because RTS and CTS are very small messages, they take very short period of time. If, as I explained to you before, when the frame size is small, the likelihood of collision is small. Okay, same thing here. Because these messages are very short, the likelihood that they are gonna make collision is actually low. Okay. Anyway, any questions? Okay. So before I move to, so as I told you in the very beginning of this chapter, we're gonna classify the medium access control protocols into random access, controlled access, and channelization. Okay. You should know the difference between them. Here in random access, it's as I explained to you before, all of them are distributed. You know what I mean by distributed? It means there is no central unit. It's just between us. Okay, so there is no superior node or something, or someone has more. All of us are running the same protocol, the same thing. All of us has the same responsibility. Okay. Anyway, this is one. This is number one here in random access. Always, also there is no reservation in the meaning of, or there is no sharing of the channel. Always there is collision here, as I told you before. It's called random. It's why you call it random? Random because there is no prior coordination. We don't do any prior coordination. Okay, we just if you want to transmit, you have to follow some routes and then you transmit. There is no prior coordination. You will understand better when I come to these two. These two are somehow different. When I explain them, you will see the difference between these two and this one. And we should also hear in these two, here there is no collision. It's 100% collision free. Okay, so it's not. Here I said we can make the collision, the likelihood of the collision very low. Here, 0. Okay, let's start with the first one, controlled access. Okay, you can tell from the English name controlled, so there is some kind of control access. So here in controlled access, the station consult one another to find which station has the right to send. A station can send unless it has been authorized by other stations. So it's like more like we sometimes, as you would say right now, we take turns. There are some kind of turns here. So here I'm going to explain two protocols. The first protocol, centralized protocol. The other one, distributed protocol. Okay. The centralized protocol is called pooling protocol. Okay. The second one is called token passing protocol. So let's start with the first one, pooling. In case of pooling, this one is used if the network has a master and slaves. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this term. So here you have a central unit, we call it a master, and then you have other nodes, we call them slaves. Okay, so we have master and the slaves. Okay, so here the master node here, this is a master node, is gonna coordinate all the access to the channel. Okay, so as you will see right now, the master node is gonna invite the slave to transmit in turns. Okay, so yeah, I think, yeah. So here, for example, if you wanna transmit, first of all, if you wanna transmit, you shouldn't do anything. Just to wait until the master node invites you to transmit. Don't take any action. Okay, I'm gonna come and ask you, do you wanna transmit? Okay, and so on. So for example, if the master node wanna send some data to a slave, so I'm sorry for using the term slave and master. I hate them, but it's a technical term, is nothing else. Okay, so here, so first of all, here the master node is gonna transmit. For example, here the master node wanna transmit to computer B. So first of all, it has to send a message. It's called selection. Okay. Just I want to tell B, using this message, I'm telling B, I want to transmit data to you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Then B is going to reply with acknowledgement. Yes, I'm ready. Please go ahead and send your data. Okay. Then after that, I'm going to send the data, and then you can send acknowledgement. Okay. This is how it works. Now, if for example, if B has a data to transmit to the master, okay, number one, it has to do nothing, just to wait until the master is going to invite you to transmit. And this happens. How it happens? So as you see here, The master is going to be do intern. Okay, it's going to ask the first computer using a message. We call it poll. You are polling. Polling means you are inviting. I'm asking A. Do you have any data to transmit? No, I don't have. Thanks very much. Okay, then it's going to go to the next one. Computer B. This happens periodically. You got what I'm saying? So periodically, the master node has to do that. And then the master node has to tell B, do you have any data to transmit? Yes, I have. Okay, send, and then you receive acknowledgement. Okay. Anyway, this is, so that, now try to think about, can collision happen here? No, it's not going to happen. Okay, because there is, this master node is going to coordinate the transmission. So there is no any chance for collision to happen. For sure, there is an overhead for this pooling technique. There is latency. There is a delay, because if I want to transmit, I can't transmit. I have to wait until I get invitation from the master node. Also, with single point of failure, you know what I mean by single point of failure. If the master node is breaks down for any reason, okay, so everything. No communication here. Okay. That's a very good question. This protocol is used in the type of the communication if the communication between the master and the slaves. So sometimes it's only communication between the master and slave. But I think it can easily also be twisted, because we have sure it can. Although the main focus here is for communication between master and slaves, but I think it still can be used for any other communication, simply because we have shared channel here. So, for example, if I ask A, do you have any data to transmit? So it's gonna transmit here, and everybody else can listen to the communication. You got what I'm saying? So anybody else can listen to the communication. And then after you receive the frame, you are gonna look at the MAC layer. Is it mine or not? If it's not mine, I'm gonna drop the message. Okay. The second one, it's very interesting. We call it token basing. Token. So there is something we call it a token. There is a special message, we call it a token. Okay. So here, this token is going to be passed from one computer to another sequentially. Okay. So, and you can only transmit if you have the token. If you don't have the token, okay, you are not going to transmit. So, for example, okay, I'm going to make it very easy. Okay. This is a token. Okay. I have the token, so I can transmit. I am done. I'm done with, no one else can transmit because you don't have the token. Okay. I'm done with transmission. So I'm going to transmit the token G. Okay. So now you have the token, so she can transmit. Okay, you are done. Please press the token. Okay. Same thing again. I can't transmit because I don't have the token. So I have to wait until the token comes to me back. Now you have the token. If you have to transmit, you can transmit. If you don't have to transmit, okay. If you don't have to transmit, you can raise the token right away. If you have to transmit first, and then you are not done.
What's that about? Like only one second as well?
Only one. What do you mean it's like a bus? I don't understand what you mean it's like.
Only one. Then
We don't have a protocol called to bus. Do we have a protocol called to bus? Yeah, this is a bus. So here, this is a bus, okay? But it's like round, like it's like round bus, okay? But it's a bus. Bus means here, if you transmit, everybody else can listen to the communication. You got what I'm saying? This is the meaning of bus, shared cable. If someone transmit, everyone else can listen to it. So I don't know why you are comparing this one with something called to bus. We don't have a protocol called to bus. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway, so this is the meaning. So, yes.
do I transfer the tokens in a specific pattern, or it's randomly transferred?
No, yeah, you are right. In a specific pattern, because it's like turns. In a specific pattern, for example, if we can go this way, it's gonna go this way. It's not random. Okay. So for example, if this computer wanna transmit, so this token has to come here. This computer doesn't want to transmit, so it's gonna just pass it here, but it cannot transmit directly this way. So it has to be from here to here, and then from here to here, then from here to here in a certain pattern. Okay. You have to keep it until you finish. But this, you can have different variation of these. For example, what if I have like a very big file? So should I keep it for a long time? It may not be good for sharing because we share this ring, or we share the bus. You may transmit for fairness, or it's going to be better for everybody if you transmit quickly and pass the token for someone else. So we can have different variation of this idea. For example, you can transmit, if you have too much data to transmit, you can transmit only for a certain time, or you can transmit one frame, and then you give the chance for others to transmit. After that, you have to wait your turn. So it's like a turn. Okay, so now you have to wait for token. You have to capture or hold the token. You can begin while holding the token, you can transmit data. Okay. If the allocated time is expired or data, so there is time here, so we can tie it to time. Either the time you finish transmission or your time is expired. In this case, you have to release the token. Okay, you can't keep holding it. You have to give the other the chance to transmit. Okay. If you don't have any data to transmit, just pass the token. Okay, so it's the token here is just a special message. It's a message with a special format. Any questions? For sure, we still here as well. We have single point of failure. If one computer is off, okay, this may break everything. Also, we have some overhead for the token. We have some latency and so on. Any questions? Okay, that's why this one again. So this one is called controlled. It's controlled again because it's not random like this one. It's not random like this one. It's controlled. Controlled because either you have to wait some central unit to invite you to transmit to coordinate the transmission, or you have to wait here until you receive. Think about it. Can collision happen here in any way? No, it can't, because if you follow the protocol, it can't happen, right? Because two computers cannot transmit at the same time because we have only one token. Okay, so that's why, as I told you here, these two protocols are collision free. Okay. Anyway, before we move to the next one, channelization, I want to take the attendance. Nine, 5, 6, 7. Don't pass this token to anybody. 9, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna count the number of students. Any questions? Are you done? You have to attend all classes. If I tell you the limit 10%, you are gonna be absent for 10% of the class. If I tell you 70%, you will be absent 70%. If I tell you 100%, you will be absent 100%. So you have to. It's very important to attend the classes and you pay attention to what I'm teaching. If you have any question, raise your hand to understand it. Everything. Okay. Something important. Yeah, but this is not going to be 30% of the classes, right? It's not 5%, 6%, 7%. Okay, I will tolerate that. That's okay. 25%. This is a policy. This is a policy of the university. You should attend to it. Are you done? أيوة. ده هيحصل 90% of the classes 95% 97%. اكيد لا بالظبط هي كده بقى. خدت بالك يعني مثلا لو لقيتها 5% 6% اوكي دي حاجات طريقه 5 6%. 70% مش حاجات طريقه 16% is not حاجات طريقه يعني. Okay, let's focus here. So now I'm going to talk about channelization. Again, you will see how you will see the difference between what we are going to do here and what we did before. Okay, channelization is like, as you see, the main difference between channelization and what we did before. What we did before here, if you have the access to the channel, you are going to use the full bandwidth of the channel. There is no sharing. Okay, you are going to use the whole bandwidth of the channel. Okay. Okay. So always here, if you so here it's like once you have your turn to transmit, you are going to use the whole bandwidth, but you are not going to transmit all the time. You are not going to transmit all the time. You have to wait your time or your turn. Here in channelization, for example, in time division and frequency division, this is similar to what I explained in chapter 1, if you remember. So I'm going to teach them again. Time division and frequency division. This is actually sharing. So actually we share the medium, we share them, okay? Either using the time or using the frequency. Can you listen to me? Okay, so here we share. Share means we can transmit at the same time. For example, here in frequency, this is the whole bandwidth of the cable, okay? For example, I'm going to divide it into bands, into frequency bands, okay? As I explained before, every computer can take one band. And when you take one band, you actually, for example, if total we have R bit per second, okay? So here you are going to get R divided by N, where N is the number of computers. So you are going to take a share. So if we have R bit per second, you are going to transmit all the time, frequency domain, okay? You are going to transmit all the time, but you are going to transmit with the slow speed because you are going to have like only a band of the whole bandwidth. However, what I explained before, once you have access to the channel, you are going to get the whole frequency, the whole spectrum, okay, the whole bandwidth. And here actually you can transmit with the speed R bits per second, okay? The other one here, time division, okay? In time division, you are gonna in time division here, you are gonna transmit. You are gonna transmit at different times. Okay. For example, here when you transmit, you are gonna take the whole R, but at different times. So here, everyone has a time slot. This is my time slot. I'm gonna transmit here. This is my time slot. So let's start with these two first, and these are actually similar to what I explained in chapter 1. So let's start here. So channelization here. Here we share the link. Either we share it in time or we share it in frequency. Okay, but let's start with time division here, multiplexing. So channel division multiplexing. So as you see here, we have six slots. Okay, every time slot. So channel is divided into n slot. Time slot, okay, one per user, okay? So for example, one computer is going to take slot number 1. This is slot number 1. So I can transmit here, okay? Once my time is done, I have to wait for this slot. You got what I'm saying? So here, every slot, I'm going to use the whole bit rate. Okay, so I'm the only one. So only one computer is going to use the channel at any time. Only one computer here in this case. But when you use the channel, you are going to use the whole bandwidth. Okay. So here one computer can transmit here, and this is here. Computer number 2 can transmit here, transmit here. Computer number 3 can be here or can be here. The bad thing here, as I explained to you before, is if you don't need to transmit, no one else will transmit in your time slot because this is your time slot. Okay. For example, here computer 2 does not have data to transmit. So we wasted the time here. We wasted the time here. This is the bad thing. Okay. Also, we wasted here because no one, computer 2 didn't use the channel during this time, and no one else is allowed to use it. Okay, so here in time division here, only one computer can use the channel at any time. Okay, unused slots go idle. Okay, which is for sure bad utilization. Also, it needs synchronization. This idea needs synchronization. Okay.
Same as the token, but we keep the token and then have that.
No, it's different from token, because token, if once I receive the token and I don't have data to transmit, I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna waste time. I'm gonna just pass the token quickly to the next one to use it. Here you can say it is equal. The transmission is equal. Okay, everybody has. But in case of token, if one computer has too much data to transmit, and the other computer don't have data to transmit, so this computer is gonna use the channel more than others. But here, no one can use the channel more than other, because you already reserve. You have time slot reserved for you. You got. No, I mean, either you can't. This is if I have data to transmit. This is if I have data to transmit. Either I have to finish sending the data, or for example, the data here, I can't keep transmitting for a very long time. Okay, so that's what I mean. But it doesn't make any sense. I have a token, and then I'm not gonna pass it, and no one is gonna use the channel. It doesn't make any sense. You get what I'm saying? So once, if I don't have data, I'm gonna pass the token right away. So big difference between the other one. Here there is, here like you divide the time into time slot, and you give some time slot for each computer. Okay, this is yours. If you want to use it or don't use it, it's up to you. This is you. No one else will use it. Okay. Yeah. So again here. For here, this is the frequency. So once, well, this is the time. Once you have access to the channel, you are going to use the whole frequency. Here. I'm going to use the whole frequency for a certain time. I'm going to use the whole frequency for a certain time. So, okay. So as you see here, this time slot for computer A. So computer A can transmit data here. This is a time slot for computer 2. Okay, computer 3, computer 4, and then we can repeat again and so on. Okay. Any questions? So again, two things here. You can transmit only in your time slot. Okay, that's why we share time. That's what time division. You can tell from the English name, time division. So this is the time. I'm gonna divide the time into slots. You can just take you can only use the channel during your slot. If you don't use your slot, no one else will use it. Okay? The next one here, frequency division multiplexing. And this is actually similar to broadband communication, as I explained to you before. So in broadband communication, we're going to divide the frequency. This is bandwidth. I'm going to divide it into bands, as I explained to you before. Okay, and then everybody is gonna. So here, this is simultaneous communication. Here, this is different from this one. Okay, simultaneous means all of us can transmit at the same time. So here you can transmit at the same time. But so here you transmit at the same time, or simultaneous communication, but using R divided by N. R is the total bit rate divided by N by the number of computers. You get what I'm saying? So you are not going to use the whole bit rate. Here you are going to transmit using R. R is the bit rate. Okay, when you transmit using R, but only during your time slots. During your time slot. Okay. So here, the channel spectrum is divided into n bands. Okay, one for each user. Same thing here. If you don't transmit, no one else is gonna take your band. So you are gonna waste the resources here. Yeah, similar to this one, similar to the time division. But in time division, if you don't use your slot, no one else is gonna use it. It's the same thing here. If you don't use your frequency band, as you see. So here I have frequency band is here. Okay, so this band is used. This band is not used. So we lose this. Okay, this one is used. This one is two are not used. So we waste them. Okay, because this is yours. And can collision happen here? For sure, it's impossible to happen collision here. You got what I'm saying? Because it's not, if you follow the protocol, no one is going to transmit at the same time using the same frequency. Listen to me, that's collision. Collision doesn't mean you transmit at the same time. No, you can transmit at the same time and there is no collision if we use different frequencies. Okay, but if we transmit at the same time using the same frequencies, okay, so this is collision. You are going to distort the signal. Okay. Anyway, so as you see here, so this is the whole bandwidth. Every computer is going to take only one part of the bandwidth, okay? One part of the bandwidth. So here, so you have, this is your own band. You can transmit in this band continuously. You can transmit in this band continuously. You can also transmit in this one continuously and so on. Any questions?
And if I do that is still the frequency of the user.
Yes, it's yours. No one else will use it. Okay? Because it's gonna be, if you don't use it and someone else wanna use it, how can we do the coordination in this case? Okay, I see some people, I think I don't do much research in this area, but I think some people publish some ideas about how can, if you don't use your band, how someone else can use it. Okay, so there are some ideas about it, but there is this is alone needs another protocol. Okay, in order to make sure if you don't use it, I'm gonna use it. But if you want to use it, I have not to transmit, to allow you to transmit. Okay, because this is yours, right? You are the main owner. Okay, anyway, but the basic idea here, no sharing. Okay. Any questions? The last one here is called CDMA, which is somehow different from these two. CDMA, okay? So CDMA here you transmit using R, the whole bandwidth, as I said. Here you transmit using R divided by 2, by N, sorry. N is the number of computers. So in CDMA, I'm gonna transmit using R. Is that okay? So similar to time division multiplexing. In FDMA, in frequency domain, frequency division multiplexing, so here you can you listen to me? Okay, so here you have continuous. You have continuous communication. Here, you don't have continuous communication. You have to communicate during your time slot. So CDMA is going to be like this one. Let me say it again. Look. In time division, you are going to transmit using R, the whole bandwidth, the whole bit range. When you transmit, you are going to take the whole bit range. Here is going to be the bit range divided by N. Okay? In CDMA, it's going to be similar to this. Transmit using R, the whole bit range. Okay. Also, here in time division, it's not continuous because you have to wait your time to transmit. This one is continuous. You are gonna continuous transmit. This one also continuous transmission. Okay. How it works is very interesting idea. I'm gonna explain it. So CDMA differs from frequency domain because only one channel occupies the entire R. That's what I said. Only one computer is gonna take the whole bandwidth. It's different from time division because all computer can sense data simultaneously, so they can no time sharing. So all of them you can transmit at the same time. So number one, so in CDMA, you should understand. Number one, all computers can transmit data simultaneously. This is number one. Okay. Number two, when they transmit, they take the whole bandwidth. Very interesting, right? You transmit simultaneously and you take the whole bandwidth. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. How there is no collision? You told us before, if you take the whole bandwidth and you transmit at the same time, there should be collision. This is a very good question. There is no collision because we're going to use a very interesting idea. We're going to use what we call codes. Code. That's why it's called CDMA. CDMA, C here means code. Okay. So everybody's going to use a different code. So here we have, so CDMA means you have communicate with different codes. Okay. I have a very good analogy here. It's not mine for sure. I got it from the textbook I like, but it's somehow, if you are sitting in a room, okay, and we have two people speaking in English, okay, and at the same time we have two other people speaking in Chinese, okay. So because we are when you speak, persons speaking in English, they are using the same code so they can understand each other, okay. Two people speaking in Chinese, because they are using the same code, so language is like a code, they can understand each other and so on. So I'm going to tell you, this is a very good question about how we can avoid collision here, okay. Look at the idea. Everybody's going to use a different code, okay. So the idea here is that every computer has a code. We agree on that. Like, so for example, this one has C1, this one has C2, C4, C3 code. And you are going to use this code all the time. So you're not going to change it. So all the time, this computer is going to use this code. Okay. And then what happens here, if I want to transmit data D1, as you see here, if I want to transmit data D1, I'm going to multiply D1 by my code C1. Here, you are going to multiply D2 by the code. And okay, you are going to multiply C4, G4 by the code. You are going to multiply D3 by the code, and then you are going to transmit to the channel. Okay, because we transmit to channel at the same time, it's going to be addition. It's going to be added. You got what I'm saying? So, for example, if you have a cable and one computer is putting 5 volt, other computer, for example, is putting 6 volt. So total, we are going to have 11 volt here. It's the same idea. So here you are going to transmit this one, you're going to transmit this one, you're going to transmit this one. So the voltage is going to be added together. Okay. Very interesting idea. Okay. Anyway, so now, okay. So this is the data we have. The data we have, very interesting idea. The data we have, it has all the data. It has the full data. D1, D2, D3, D4. So if I want to extract, if for example here, if I want to extract D1 from the data here, okay, how I can do that? If I want to extract D2, how I can do that? If I want to extract D3, how I can do that? Okay. So very simple idea. So what you have to do here is, so again, number one, every computer has a code. This is number one. Number two, every computer has to multiply the code by the data and to transmit. As a result of that, you have everything added this way. So now I'm going to do something interesting right now so that I can extract D1 from here. I can extract D2 from here. I can extract D3. I can extract D4 after they are added together. Okay. The interesting thing is the way you are going to select this code, these codes are not random numbers. I'm going to select the codes so that if you multiply the code, for example, CI, I can be anyone, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you multiply the code by itself, so I'm going to get n, number n. But if I multiply a code by any other code, I'm going to get 0. So these codes are not random numbers. I'm going to select this code, special numbers, as you will see later, so that when I multiply the code by itself, I'm going to get n, where n is the number of computers. In this case, we have 4, so n is 4. We have 4 computers here in this case, so n is 4. When I multiply the code by any other code, different code, I'm going to get 0. Okay? So, but tell me again, after you add everything this way, how can you extract D1? How can you extract D3 and so on? Okay, very interesting. I'm going to tell you. Based on what I put here, for example, if I wanna get D1, so I'm gonna multiply this data by the code of computer 1. So if I wanna listen to the communication of computer 1, I'm gonna multiply this data by the code of 1. When I do that, when you multiply C1 here, C1 times C2 is 0. C1 times C3 is 0. C1 times C4 is 0. So what I'm going to get here, I'm going to get n G1. Then I can divide it by n to get G1. No, just a number, and then I convert it. As you will see, I'm going to give you example. It's just a number. Okay, but I have to convert it as a voltage, as you will see now. Okay, just wait a second. Same thing. What if I want to, for example, extract D2? If I want to listen to the communication of D2, so I'm going to transmit here by the code of computer 2. Doing that, this one is 0 because you multiply, as I said here, if you multiply one code by another, by a different code, you get 0. Okay? That's why we're going to select the code this way. C2 times C1 is N. Okay? C2 times C2 is N. So by this way, I'm going to calculate 4 G2 and so on. Any questions? Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you a numerical example. You will understand it better. But this is like the simple idea or the basic idea. The basic idea, as I said, is a very interesting thing here. Number one, I have continuous communication. That's number one. Number two, you are going to use the whole bandwidth. Okay, the whole bit rate. Okay, so very interesting. The way you are going to do it, every computer has a code. Okay, you are going to use this code all the time. And then all what you have to do, as I said here, you are going to multiply the data by the code, multiply the data by the code, multiply the data by the code, and so on, and to transmit. So this is the signal on the channel is going to look like something like that. This is the signal on the channel. It's going to look like this. And then once I have this one, okay, I'm going to do some operation in order to extract D1 alone, or D2 alone, or D3, and so on. For example, here, if I want to listen to communication here, I'm going to multiply it by this C1. And I told you, these codes are selected. They are not random numbers. They are selected in such a way so that when I multiply a code by itself, okay, so the result is going to be the same number of computers here. For example, here is 4, so it's going to be 4G1. But everyone else is going to be 0 if you multiply. We're going to select the codes this way, okay? I'm going to give you a numerical example. I think you will understand it better, but let me see if I missed something here. Okay. If you multiply each code by another, you get 0. If you multiply code by itself, you are going to get 4. Okay. And this is exactly as I explained here. So I'm going to multiply it by C1. When I multiply by C1, C1 times C1 is N, as I said. C1 times C2 is 0. So this part is 0. C1 times C3 is 0, 0. So at the end, you are going to get D1 times N. Okay. Okay, now let's have a numerical example to understand exactly. This is what I explained now, just is a basic idea, but we can have some numerical example here, okay? So here, actually, this code, when I see a code, this code actually is a vector. It's a vector, something like that. It's not only one number. It's a vector. Like this, something like this, okay? One more thing. So again, when I see a code here, this code is a vector. So for example, you have +1, -1, you have, for example, -1, +1, whatever. So it has it's a vector, okay? And when you multiply, when you multiply, so here each station is assigned a code, and this code is a sequence of number. This number we call same chips. So for example, this can be a code, as you see here. This is a code here. This code has 4 chips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This another code has 4 chips. For every number, we will call it a chip. Okay. Also, you should understand the size, how many elements we have in this vector, how many elements should equal to the number of computers we have. So if we have 4 computers, so this vector 4. If we have 8 computers, so this number should be 8. Okay. So here the size of this vector should equal to number of computers we have. Was that okay? So and also, as I told you, we have to select these codes in such a way so that when you multiply a code by itself, you are going to get 4. Here the number is 4, you are going to get 4. But if you multiply a code by another code, you are going to get 0. We still have 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute. Okay. So for example, here, so how can, first of all, how can you multiply vector by vector? This is what we call inner product. I'm not sure if you are familiar with this term, inner product or not. Inner product. So inner product means, for example, if I multiply this vector by this vector, C1 times C2, how can you do this multiplication? Multiply vector by multiplying them using inner product. So inner product means I'm gonna multiply the first one by the first one plus second one times the second one plus this one times this one. So I'm gonna multiply element by element. Okay, so I'm gonna multiply this element times this element plus this second element by this second element plus third element by third element plus, that's what we call inner product. That's how we're gonna multiply two vectors together. So if I multiply one vector by itself, for example, C1 times C2, okay, I'm gonna get 4. I tried it for C1. When you go home, try it for any other one. Also, you're gonna get 4. Because I told you I'm gonna select these codes so that when I multiply a code by itself, I'm gonna get 4. 4 is the number. If the number here is 8, I'm gonna get 8. If the number is 12, I'm gonna get 12. Okay. Also, if I multiply one code, here I tried also with 4. I multiplied C4 by C4. Okay. When I multiply C4 by C4, so I'm gonna multiply the first element, which 1 times 1. Then I'm gonna multiply the second element, -1 times -1. Then I'm gonna multiply -1 times -1, 1 times 1. Okay, it's 4. But if I try to multiply any code with any other code, you are gonna get 0. Okay, this is required. For example, I want to multiply these two together, 2 and 3. So it's gonna be 1 times 1, which is here. Okay, -1 times +1, which is here. +1 times -1, which is here. And then -1 times -1 is here. I'm gonna get 0. Okay? So this is the main idea. We have to select these codes, and later I'm gonna explain how can you come up with these codes. But this is the basic idea. The basic idea, everyone, to communicate, you have to communicate using a code. And I have to select these codes in such a way that 2 requirements should happen. Multiply the code by itself is 4, multiply the code by any other code is 0. Okay, I'm gonna continue this one next time. Thanks. The coming quiz is easy. You should study well for the coming one. How many questions? 52.